Hey everyone, what's up? Crew Danny here. Today we're going to talk about combining your punches with your elbows. In the previous videos we talked about the elbows, and the previous video before that I talked to you about the MMA punching basics. Today we're going to combine both together. All right, so when we look at combining stuff, today we're going to do shadow boxing, how you should shadow box, and combining your punches with your elbows, all right? Just using your arms, right? In future videos, then we're going to start to cover maybe the knees and the kicks and whatnot, and then doing everything, you know, striking, shadow boxing. But for today, it's going to be just combining the last two videos. Now, two things are important when we do shadow boxing that I want to address, I think are the two most important things. Number one is always visualize what you're doing. Don't just throw the techniques blindly, throwing some punches and some elbows. That's okay when you want to start to perfect your techniques. You're learning the mechanics of how you should do each technique correctly. Sometimes you even use the help of a mirror and look at yourself to make sure your technique is pristine. But eventually, we want to start to visualize. You know, like in our gym, we don't have mirrors on the floor. And that's for a purpose. The reason why I didn't put mirrors, I don't want people to look at themselves. Because in Muay Thai or mixed martial arts, if you're going to get in the ring or cage, you're not going to be fighting yourself in the mirror. You're going to be fighting a moving opponent who's not going to really telegraph or tell you what he's going to do. So your technique should already be pristine, and you're going into your fight after you've trained for so long, and then you know how to do your techniques and chain them together. So that's the first thing. I would recommend always using, you know, visualization and looking in your mind, looking at what you're going to do. Like visualize your opponent in front of you, okay? So the first thing is to always understand that range. So if I'm shadow boxing, I'm visualizing, let's say the opponent is here. That's the distance between me and the training partner or the opponent as per se. So now when you start to shadow box, you're visualizing what you're doing. You're seeing an opponent in front of you, and that makes you keep your hands up, right? Because you understand that when you throw strikes, there's also strikes from the opponent coming back at you. So that brings me to my next point, is every time you start to train, always remember this, is if you get tired, a lot of people tell me, well, coach, sometimes my shoulders get tired, so they drop their hands in the midst of their shadow boxing session. Well, don't just do that. Actually get out of range first. So for example, if I'm here, and then I want to move out before I start to relax my hands and my shoulder, right? I move out of range before I do so. Now, let's talk about the second most important thing, is also brings me to the footwork. When you're moving with your shadow boxing and you understand how to do your techniques, whether you're doing fast or slow, one important thing is to close the gap. So you always want to close the gap with your techniques, always moving forward. Now, you want to also be able to move left to right. Start to train yourself not to always move backwards. The thing is, with moving backwards, eventually your back's going to hit the cage, the cables of the ring, and eventually you can't go anywhere. So eventually, the more you backstep, there's only so much you can do on the defensive. So you want to learn to move left or right. So as you move out, you would move more in a circling fashion. Now, I want to talk about a few things you can do to combine your shadow boxing using the punches and the elbows from the previous video. So for example, a couple of techniques could be as such. As you start to move, you 1-2, and then maybe a lead elbow, right? Punch here and elbow there. Maybe just an elbow here, up, bum, bum, and then combine them. Bum, 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 bum. And start to combine things and understand, see the opponent and see the opening. So when you throw your punches, as you're seeing the punch land, you know the person on this side is receiving the hook and either covering or eating the hook as per se. So now I'm looking in this direction. So as you see this in your mind, when the punch comes, that's where the elbow will flow, right? Maybe the opponent slips out. As I throw the jab, you slip on this side. So as I throw the jab and I see this, and then I walk into an uppercut elbow. See, when you start to visualize what you're doing now, you start to see and understand better how to combine and how to flow your techniques. There's no right or wrong way of combining your techniques, but I'm going to show you just a couple of combinations I like to do when I combine. So very slowly I go jab into a straight elbow, right? Left punch here, straight elbow on the backside. Maybe I'll go 1-2 and then lead elbow to the front. Maybe I'll go 1-2, step it in with the uppercut elbow. Maybe I'll go jab cross hook from here and then cut it down with a cut down elbow. Maybe I'll start to combine low and high. As I go low with my punch, I come back upstairs and then I slash an elbow. Maybe I'll do the opposite. I start upstairs, go back low, come back upstairs, and finish with one more elbow. Just a couple of combinations, guys. Combos are endless. right? You just make them up the way you see it. There's no right or wrong way. It's the way you see it in your mind, fighting that opponent and seeing the opening as you go with the flow, and then see the opening, how you're gonna throw the punches, flowing into a closer range using your elbows. All right, guys, so there you have it. Combining and flowing your punches with your elbows. Put that into context. In the future videos, we'll talk about some more techniques and more combos you can do using training equipment. Until next time, guys, I will catch you in the next training video. Train hard.